They fund terror organizations in the Middle East, such as Hamas, correct?
That's absolutely right, Liz. They created Hamas. They created other terrorist organizations that are currently killing people in Sinai and Egypt. And the U.S. government has designated Hamas. They have designated some of these other Egyptian MB wings that are also committing terrorist acts. And look, if you look at the legislation that created the designation of terrorism list, it clearly says if you are an organization that has a subgroup that creates or conducts terrorism, or if you fund or support or encourage terrorism, you can be designated. The Brotherhood absolutely meets all of those requirements. Now, a lot of the so-called experts will tell you that there is no Muslim Brotherhood. There are actually many Muslim brothers. Many Muslim Brotherhoods around the world, and they're all different, and they're not connected, and they don't have any relationship. That's simply not true as far as we know. You know, the Muslim Brotherhood published on their website the bylaws of the International Muslim Brotherhood Organization that clearly said if you want to be a Muslim Brotherhood chapter, you have to pay your dues, you have to follow policy, and you have to get your policy prescriptions approved by the International Committee. That sounds like a single organization with many chapters to me. It doesn't sound like multiple organizations. Now, it is true that you have brotherhood organizations in, for example, Jordan or Tunisia, where they run for government and they conduct charity work and they do legal work. That's absolutely true. They do that. But you also have Muslim Brotherhood organizations in Egypt and in Gaza and in Yemen, which engage in actual terrorism, which engage in actual violence. You've got brotherhood groups in Libya and Syria, which are armed militias, which are engaged in fighting. And all of these groups, while they have different policies depending on what's happening in their given country, and they play a different role, they're all members of the same brotherhood, and they all have the same objectives. And if you look again at those bylaws, it clearly says, if you are a Muslim brother in, say, Syria, and you come to the United States, you become a U.S. Muslim brother. That's simply how it works. And you fall under all of the organization that exists in the United States. Or if you move to London, you answer to the people in London. Or if you move to Damascus, you answer to the people in Syria, right? So they are a single organization in that respect. Now, a lot of people on the left are saying, well, this will be, an apocalypse. If we try to designate the Brotherhood, we'll have to be drone striking people in London, and, it'll just be awful. And that's not true at all. The U.S. government has always maintained the ability to sort of pick and choose how it enforces. We can choose to sanction people in Jordan. We can simply write demarches to the Jordanian government complaining about the Brotherhood there. We can take a stricter line in Yemen. We can take a stricter line in Egypt. We can file for sanctions. We can designate and seize funds in certain places. We can open investigations in the United States for Brotherhood elements. That doesn't mean that everybody who's a Muslim brother gets rounded up and sent to Gitmo. That's simply not true. But that's the story that they tell because they want to scare people. They want to scare legislators, for example. They want to scare the bureaucracy into thinking that this would be the end of the world. But it wouldn't. It would be the start of a new policy on counterterrorism that would keep Americans and the rest of the world safer.